Shall we begin?
Yes, let's.
Okay. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the introductory episode, or the pilot episode of the Practical Tapping Show. I'm Andy Hunt, Practical Wellbeing. This is my very good friend Masha Bennett of Practical Happiness, the two practicals.
And this is Sally.
Oh, and this is Sally, who's a very impractical dog. Some of you may have seen or heard of before. She's hopefully not going to take part.
Not a tapping dog.
Not a tapping dog, no. We're filming this in the Mission Control of Practical Wellbeing, which is another name for our living room up here in Blyth, in the northeast of England. So we're just kind of making this up as we go along. So I'm going to do a couple of things to try and explain what it is we're about and why we're here. So have you got anything to add just yet?
Well, we had these discussions for a while that we seem to be working on similar wavelengths with you, Andy, and we do seem to share quite a lot of good practical tips and ideas on using EFT even more effectively. So we came up with the idea of sharing
Useful stuff.
Useful stuff.
Yeah.
There's some things that this useful stuff is not going to help you with.
No, that's right. And this is kind of going to be very low-key tapping advice, really. We can guarantee you that by the end of these videos you won't be any richer, thinner or more popular than you were when you started. So we're not going to make any very large claims for the benefit you can get out of this. We hope it will be helpful to you, but there will be no kind of claims of life-changing experiences or anything like that. But we hope you have a good educational time and we get a chance to vent our spleens on a variety of subjects and give you hopefully some helpful tips along the way.
I would agree. It may well be helpful and interesting, but we're not promising any life transformational experiences.
No.
Is that right, Sally?
Yeah. She's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I thought it would be nice if we let people, our viewers, know a little bit more about us. So is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions?
Go right ahead.
So can you tell our viewers how you came across EFT in the first place? How did you
get
into it?
About 2004 I went to an NLP training, because I'm also an NLPer. I did NLP practitioner, master practitioner, and I went on an NLP course down in London, and there was somebody there who I didn't actually like very much at all, actually, and this guy mentioned EFT and it kind of tweaked my curiosity, because I'd never heard of it before, and superficially it looks absolutely bonkers. And I went and downloaded the manual from Gary Craig's website and started that way, which I think a lot of people started out that way, because at the time he published his manual you could just download it for free. So I just started playing with the manual and working my way through and being fairly gobsmacked, as they say up here, about how well it worked. That's how I started.
So I know you've been practicing it for a long time now, Andy. So what is so special for you in EFT? Why do you like it? Why do you value it?
Well, one, it's simple. I really like the fact it's a very simple process. Actually, it's an extremely simple process. The second thing, although it's simple, you can use it in some quite sophisticated ways to get really extraordinary results. But I think the thing I like about it the best is it's something I can teach to my clients. So something that people can use for themselves, which puts it in a completely different category to most other things. It's very hard to use hypnotherapy for yourself. It's quite difficult to use CBT for yourself. It's very difficult to do EMDR for yourself. So all these different therapeutic things that you go to somebody to get. The thing I really like about EFT is something that you can learn and you can use for yourself. So I think it's very kind of democratic kind of process, and that appeals to the anarchist in me.
That's great. I agree with you on so many points there, Andy. So can you say a few words about any particular interests or specialities you have with EFT?
Okay. I think my three main interests is I work with people who hate themselves. Basically, people who give themselves a very hard time have fierce inner critics, experience a lot of shame, that kind of thing. Also work with people who've had traumatic experiences, because EFT is very, very good for trauma. And I work with people who get in their own way with limiting beliefs and blocks to making progress. So there are the kind of things that I specialise in.
Some very significant and important topics there,
Oh
I'm
yes.
sure, of interest to many people.
We may visit them again later.
Quite possibly.
Okay, so I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How did you get into EFT?
Well, I have to blame Andy.
Afraid so.
He was the one to introduce me to this. He was so enthusiastic that after a little while of hearing about this strange tapping thing, I had to listen and I had to pay attention. I was very, very reserved, and I was...
This is true. And you were faced with a true believer, which is I'm over that now, but at the time I was a bit enthusiastic, to say the least.
And I remember being polite but very reserved. I
Yes.
said, okay then, let's try this thing. When we finished that short introductory session, that short demo you did for me, I was none the wiser. I didn't notice anything happening. I thought, okay, well, Andy's a sensible guy. I know him as such. So, but for some reason, he's just gone a bit bonkers.
Yeah.
So I forgot about that experience until about a month later. I realised that my problem had disappeared, and that was a problem that I have tried to work on in a number of different ways, using NLP, CBT. You agree, Sally, don't you? And nothing was touching it. And after 2 minutes of this strange thing, something had happened. So that prompted me to explore it in a bit more detail.
So, what do you like about it?
What do I like about it? As I mentioned earlier, there's some very, very similar reasons to the ones you mentioned. First of all, for me, that it is so democratic. There are so many beautiful therapies out there that do a fantastic job at dealing with some really complex issues, things that have been around for a while, and very respected therapeutic modalities. But I don't know anything that you can pass to another person within minutes. It doesn't matter if this person is maybe a young child or somebody with a learning difficulty, or somebody who might have a problem with even a simple self-help technique because they're in such a distressed state that they're maybe not able to concentrate or even repeat a simple technique with you. But I found even in those circumstances, tapping helps 99% of the time. So yes, that accessibility and democracy with which EFT can be made available, that's really special for me.
So what are your special interests? What kind of things do you like to use it for?
I also, like you, I work with quite a lot of trauma, and I do find EFT works tremendously well for that. I also use other modalities like EMDR and CBT and NLP, and I'm aware you are qualified in quite a few therapies as well, Andy, but EFT will be my method of choice because it is more gentle, and it tends to work really, really well. And also I work with things like addictions, eating disorders, quite a few sort of compulsive issues, including OCD. So these are my favourite areas of work. Okay.
I guess we ought to think about what they can, what our viewer, hopefully there's more than one of you, can expect. And I think what we're thinking of doing is, this is a kind of bit of an unusual episode, we're kind of introducing ourselves and setting a stage. What we plan on doing is doing little segments, talking about different things of interest to us about EFT, or questions that come in from your good selves about EFT and tapping. And at all times we'll be making the bold promise that we're making no promises at all, really. This is part of the driving force behind this presentation. Is that there's loads of stuff about EFT on YouTube and all the rest of it. You could, if you search for EFT on YouTube, you could be there for years watching videos and stuff. Some of those videos make very large claims, and we're not entirely convinced that they live up to their promise. So we kind of decided we'd make very, very small promises to present useful stuff, hopefully in a helpful way, that you can use for yourselves. So you kind of join in with this democratic tapping thing. So if you're tuning in with these two with the expectation of becoming miraculously richer or thinner or more popular in the space of 10 minutes or so, it's probably better if you go to a different channel, because you'll not get that here, because we can't promise that, and we won't. So.
No, but if you want to get some useful practical tips, ideas, experiences that we're able to share, then please do come back to the Practical Tapping Show, and hopefully we can learn something together.
So if we can make this invitation at the end of every show, but if you have any questions or things you want to ask or point out, you'll probably find a little comments box at the bottom of the little video square that you're watching now. So feel free to put questions in there, or you can email them to us at practicaltapping@gmail.com. What could be simpler? Can't guarantee to answer all of them, and if they're emails about certain supplements or other dubious offers, we're not going to answer them at all. So, but if it's a kind of reasonable query, we will probably give it our best shot at giving it an answer.
We will. If you do want to use EFT even more effectively for yourself and in your therapy practice, if you have one, get in touch and we'll do our best to answer your questions.
Okay, are we done?
I think we are.
Yeah, you can tell we're making this up as we're going along, can't you?
We
I
are.
thought so, yeah.
That's the best way.
That's what the dog thinks as well. Alright, so I think we'll sign off from this one, and then in the next ones we'll get on to actually talking about tapping rather than ourselves. That's enough self-aggrandisement for one evening. Catch you later.
See you later.